You know, every year at Christmas and at Easter, we kind of brace for impact, meaning that that's when the big attacks happen around the world. And so this year, Christmas Eve, big attack. Now, this time it was in Nigeria. And this was a massive attack. It was kind of coordinated attack across 21 different villages, 220 different homes destroyed, burned down, 200 to 300 people killed. And, you know, basically they find people for days afterwards, because they run out of their huts into the bush and they're killed in the bush. Now, if you follow me, you already know this isn't different except in scale. This is a big attack and it's on Christmas Eve. But you look back and for 20 years this has been going on, right? If you follow me, you know this. 3.5 million Christian farmers pushed off their lands. Their lands were stolen. Up to 100,000 Christians killed. And you got to ask yourself, why doesn't anything ever change? And I've explained it before, but I'll say it again because I just want to drill this home. Nigeria used to be a British colony, and when the Brits were in, they relied on the Muslims. They relied on the Fulanis. So the Fulanis were running everything, the Muslims were running everything. And when the Brits left, guess who was in charge and guess who the hidden power was? So then it became a democracy and Christians were voted into office, but always the hidden hand were the Muslims. And so to this day, the Muslims control the army and the intel and the police. So they control any part of the security apparatus. So guess what happens with these kinds of attacks? Going back 20 years, nothing ever changes. The outrageous thing for me is that once a year, the State Department comes out with a list, and it's called the CPC, Countries of Particular Concern. And this is a list that the State Department puts out saying these countries have a bad religious freedom record. And if any place does, oh my gosh, it's Nigeria. I mean, it's up there with North Korea. So the list comes out this year, and guess who is not on the list? For the second year in a row, Nigeria is not on the list. And this is beyond a travesty. It's like, you've got to be kidding. This is a political decision. Nigeria is the biggest country in Africa. They have oil. They're an ally. So this is a political decision, but it's a travesty. And you know what's interesting? Look, the State Department exists to get along in the end with countries. And Congress 20 years ago said they were so sick of this kind of thing happening, they created a watchdog agency to push the State Department on religious freedom and to force them to recognize it. And even that's why the CPC comes out, and yet they have failed miserably. I love a lot of the people of the State Department, a lot of very competent people, but this is a huge miss. And maybe my last note is this. Do you know what the Bible says about the victims of murder, especially the unjust victims of murder? It says their blood cries out from the ground to the Lord. It just disturbs him to no end. He cannot forget the injustice and all those innocent victims hidden, and killed in secret. And this is happening in Nigeria. But while we wait for God's slow wheels of justice to grind completely, we keep rescuing. And if you'd like to help us, just follow the link below. God bless you.